Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Peace be upon you. The topic of the future of Iraq and rebuilding it dominated discussions at the World Economic Forum in Davos. U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney is scheduled to give a speech this Saturday on the same topic. He's going to ask countries to help in reconstructing Iraq while pursuing other U.S. foreign interests. Meanwhile, experts in Davos said that they are somewhat confident that the international economy will be revived, despite the decrease in the value of the dollar and the American deficit. On the last day of the Fourth World Social Forum, tens of thousands of anti-globalization activists demonstrated in the streets of the Indian city Bombay, carrying flags and signs. Demonstrators repeated slogans criticizing the war in Iraq and globalization, demanding an end to injustice. Criticism was particularly geared toward Bush's State of the Union address, which he gave yesterday. American attorney Michael Murray, who was defending an Australian citizen detained in Guantanamo, said that the American military court for suspects in the war on terrorism are not suitable. In a press conference in Washington, Murray said that the military court system may lead to sentencing innocent people. He added that the military courts that were held in the U.S. during World War II were brought back by the American President George Bush in the wake of the September 11th attacks. Rain continues to pour in many areas in Turkey, causing a number of accidents throughout the country, but there are no initial reports of injuries. Weather conditions caused the death of 8 team members of a North Korean cargo ship when its bottom hit a sandbar 500 meters away from the coast of Antalya city. The rain also destroyed 2 minarets in Moscow. 2 Iraqi police officers and a civilian were killed in an attack on a checkpoint on the main road connecting Fallujah and Ramadi. Meanwhile, a U.S. military base in Baquba was also attacked, and 2 U.S. soldiers were killed. Furthermore, 4 Iraqi women were killed during an armed attack on the bus that was transporting them to a U.S. military base in Al-Habbaniyah.
The 4th Infantry Division, stationed near Baquba, was attacked by mortar shells and rockets, killing 3 U.S. soldiers and wounding others. This incident occurred after the U.S. forces raided the area searching for armed men suspected to have arrived in one of the city's neighborhoods.
My children and I were in the house when the missile hit. Then it collapsed. We started suffocating from all the dust and fumes. I took my children and we rushed out.
Meanwhile, a separate attack took place in Fallujah. 3 Iraqi policemen were killed and 5 others were wounded during the armed attack on their headquarters. The U.S. forces said, however, that the assailants failed to complete their operation after being pursued by an Iraqi police unit. These 2 attacks happened after a horrific operation which claimed the lives of 4 Iraqi women who used to work in a laundromat at a United States military base in Al-Habbaniyah.
If they were real fighters, they will go and attack the Americans who have tanks and not kill women.
Armed men attacked a shuttle bus transporting the women to their place of work. They were on the road connecting Al-Fallujah to the military base.
The Al Jumhuria Bridge over the Tigris River in Baghdad remains closed for the 3rd consecutive day. The U.S. forces had blocked off this bridge after an attack at their headquarters in Baghdad. Now, to a report from our correspondent.
This is the Al Jumhuria Bridge, one of Baghdad's landmarks. Up until 6 days ago, there were no significant incidents around the bridge, but violence has caught up with this landmark. With this horrible incident, which is very common in other parts of Baghdad and various Iraqi towns, the cries of people burning in their cars, body parts scattered in surrounding areas, and the ground tainted with the color red. Another sad episode in the history of this bridge when it was cut off 3 times in the past. The first time was during the Second Gulf War, when U.S. warplanes shelled the bridge. A second time when the U.S. tanks blocked off the bridge, marking the end of 35 years of an oppressive regime. The third time was when the U.S. armored vehicles closed off the bridge, adding to the list of blocked roads and closed streets.
If they would open the Al Jumhuria Bridge, the suspension bridge, and the freeway, there won't be all this traffic in Baghdad.
The drivers of these cars struggle just to drive a few kilometers. The entire world is developing at a fast pace, but here, things are slowing down.
You need 2 or 2.5 hours to get anywhere or to get anything done.
This is a vital bridge in Baghdad, and when open, it greatly reduces the traffic caused by the closure of roads and the increased number of vehicles. Furthermore, the old road system cannot absorb the increased traffic. People are frustrated, hoping that the situation will change, but all they can do is just wait. The roads to a landmark bridge are tainted with the color red. More painful incidents are occurring on both sides of the bridge. No doubt the closure of this bridge contributes to additional suffering to the Iraqis. Hamza Hussein, Abu Dhabi TV, at the Al Jumhuria Bridge in central Baghdad.
Still in Iraq, Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Sistani expressed hope of UN role in Iraqi elections, and Iraqi Muslim Shiites staged a 3rd straight day of protests against US plans to transfer power in the country.
A representative of the highest Shiite Muslim cleric in Iraq, Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Sistani, stressed the role of the United Nations in Iraq's political future.
أن تساهم هذه الاجتماعات في التوصل.
We hope that the meetings will result in a solution to the Iraqi issue and that the UN will have, as we said, a vital and important role as a neutral organization in achieving a secure political situation for this country. We also hope that this organization will respond to the desire of the Iraqi people, which was expressed by the Marja'iyya religious authority, and that the judge should represent the Iraqi people's will and its choices of law that will govern it and its future leadership. We hope it will be an honest handover of power to the Iraqis, which will result in an honest leadership.
Thousands of Iraqi Shiite Muslims swarmed through the southern Iraqi town of Samawa in the latest mass demonstration behind Ayatollah Sistani's demand for a direct vote to choose Iraq's future government rather than a series of caucuses proposed by the US-led occupation. UN Secretary General Kofi Annan said he was still considering whether to send a team of experts to Iraq to see if direct elections for a transitional government can be held soon. Annan said that if a team were sent, it would assess whether elections were possible between now and the end of June, and if this were not possible, it would consider what sort of alternatives and suggestions to move the process forward.
U.S. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld said that the U.S. has always advocated direct elections in Iraq. According to Rumsfeld, the only question to ask was when and how fast these elections could be held. Rumsfeld went on to say he hoped that UN Secretary General Kofi Annan would send an assessment team to Iraq soon. Meanwhile, Iraqi Governing Council President Adnan Pashashi continued his US visit and said that he was confident that a compromise solution will be found to accommodate the country's leading Shiite Ayatollah while not abandoning a US-backed plan to choose a transitional legislature.
And we had a very good... the United States has always been for direct elections. The only question was when and how fast could they be done. And one of the issues that was raised at the United Nations with Secretary General Kofi Annan was the question of how long it would take and whether or not it could be achieved this summer. And my hope is that he'll be sending an assessment team down to meet with the Governing Council sometime later this month or next month to talk about that. But we've always favored elections. The only question is, the tension was, if your goal is to get sovereignty passed to the Iraqis so that they feel they have a stake in their future, can you do it faster with caucuses, or can you do it faster with elections? And because ultimately you're going to have elections on a constitution anyway. So I suspect there's no daylight between Secretary Powell and Foreign Minister Straw.
Iraq and the global economy topped the agenda of the 33rd Annual World Economic Forum. The 5-day forum in the Swiss resort of Davos is attended by more than 2,280 participants from 94 countries, including heads of states or government. This year's theme of the World Economic Forum of Davos is Security and Prosperity equals Peace. The forum got underway with political and business allies discussing topics ranging from Iraq to what constitutes victory in the so-called war against terror to the direction the global economy would take in 2004.
One conflict in particular that could destroy global security and peace is religious, cultural and ethnic antagonism, which is becoming increasingly manifest. Our number one objective here should be to avoid such a conflict, and I'm extremely honored that President Khatami has accepted to be with us at this opening to speak to us later on how we divide how we bridge those divides.
Iranian President Said Mohammad Khatami said he had no plans to resign over the ongoing electoral dispute in his country and expressed confidence the crisis was moving towards a settlement. He made his remarks after several ministers and vice presidents in his government tendered their resignations to protest the mass disqualification of candidates by the Guardian Council from the February 20 parliamentary elections.